Hello everybody, welcome to the show. I'm SM SithLord and this is the weekly build stream where we will be building a web world. Here's the hype reel, the promo reel for web worlds. I'm going to be doing a lot of 3D modeling and stuff, which I'll talk about in a moment. But this is the target here. We're going to be running it all in the web browser using WebGL, soon to be WebGPU, because that just got released a couple weeks ago. Or maybe 1 week ago. To get started, I went to the Somnium Web Worlds Medium article. I went down to the link that took me to the GitLab right here. That brought me to the GitLab. I downloaded Web Worlds, the zip file right here, by clicking on it and then clicking download. After I had the Web World template there, I'm ready to start a new project on playcanvas.com. You can just create a free account, click, then go to your projects page, and you click Import Project. And when it asks you what to import, you're going to choose the zip that you downloaded in the previous step. What is it called? Web Worlds with a W. There you go, 1.2. Okay, so you upload the zip that you just downloaded. You wait a moment and sip the coffee. It shouldn't take too long. And then it takes you to this page with your brand new project. A good thing to do is a brand new project based off the Web Worlds template. A good thing to do is name your project right away just by clicking on settings and put in this is going to be urban storefronts. And I won't give it a description yet. And click save. Cool, it renamed my thing. Now I'm going to click editor. And that brings me into the Play Canvas editor here. There's only one scene for me to choose from. This is the kind of default scene. I'm going to end up deleting most of this stuff, but I could just click launch right away. And it will put me into the demo scene there with a sample player controller. This is like the default Play Canvas player controller. So it doesn't show you exactly what it's like when you experience it on the Somnium Space web parcel. But it does let you run around and test a lot of stuff prior to that. So I can't interact with the web browser while I'm testing, but after I put this on a parcel in Somnium Web, that web browser will function. And there's a few other things like that too, like my avatar. I'm stuck as this guy, but when I actually get my web world here that I'm building assigned to my parcel and visit it in Somnium Web, I will have Ready Player Me that looks like Jarek, which is the avatar guy that I normally use. Okay, so let's talk about what we're doing today. So that was like a crash course on how to start from scratch, from getting the template from the GitLab, uploading it, and bam, we're here. We named it, we're ready to go. What is urban storefronts? So I got a couple goals here. The first goal is to use a 3D skybox, which I've been generating plenty of. I don't have any. Oh, here's one. An AI generated skybox, I mean, to put in the windows of a storefront to make each of the rooms look like it's 3D. So let me download this and then let me load up this other sample project from last week, or a couple weeks ago actually, that demonstrates this window thing that I'm talking about. You may have seen it in games like High on Life or Forza Horizons, or going all the way back to like Watch Dogs. Maybe it's Furnished Home that has this test that I'm looking for. Yeah, this is it. So I'll click launch here. This is another web world from a previous stream. But what we're looking at here is not all the cool windows that show the regular skybox outside of it. Those are cool. That's real cool. But Wow, this floor is so shiny and neat looking. This window right here, which looks broken right now. I don't know how I broke it between my last test and this test. Maybe we should be looking at that. Here's the skybox. The center. Okay, so I'll put it right over there. Notice how now it doesn't look broken and it looks like we're at the bottom of the skybox. Okay, I messed up a little bit because that's why it looks weird down there. Let's adjust that some. Just move down some. Almost. There, now it looks like it's a room in there. So that's the effect that we're going for the storefronts. But if you do something like this with a properly created cube map that's designed to be used this way, and you do something like you layer a curtain or some glass or something in front to hide the fact that it's just a render, it looks pretty convincing. So I've spent about an hour or so earlier this morning preparing these and some other things I'm going to show in a moment. These are 3D skyboxes that, so skybox, I said 3D again. They're AI skyboxes. The skybox generator, the AI skybox generator at Skybox Labs, it recently added the ability to draw a shape. Let me just show you what I'm talking about here. Draw a shape, and then it generates a skybox based on the contour lines that you draw. So to generate these skyboxes, I'm going to show you. What I did was I just drew, like for the storefronts, I did this. I said, this is going to be what I want for my storefront. And I wanted a wall there and a wall there. And then I didn't care about the rest. So I just drew something like this, and then I clicked generate. And what it gave me was some stuff that fit into those areas. You can't really tell when it's in this form, but trust me. I drew that little storefront thing, and a certain part of this cube map, which we'll see in a moment, perfectly lines up with what I drew that shape of. And I did a couple of these, and I'm going to do a couple more, and these are going to be my storefronts. I'm going to try to do 3, maybe 2. Storefronts like this, and then a couple windows above it that have an apartment cube map with the same effect. Now, I'm going to be using like 4 or 5 different cube maps. That's not very optimal, so I'll probably have to think about making them low resolution. But this is the main. This is also AI generated, by the way. I made this one on Runway. This is going to be the main kind of concept thing that I'm going for with these cube maps that look like this on the bottom floor and the upper floors, but there'll be storefronts here. And then for the windows up here, I'll probably, hopefully, be able to use the same cube map in all the windows, like the High on Life and Forza Horizon games that use the same effect. You can use the same thing, especially if you modulate the color or you change the kind of blind that's in front of it. It works out pretty well, depending on how close the user gets to it. So, this is going to be a multi-step process. The first thing that I want to test, though, is the portal effect. This effect. Then after I test the portal effect, I'm going to do 3D modeling, and I'll be testing the portal effect in Play Canvas Editor here. I'll be putting it together and testing it here in the test window of Play Canvas Editor. After I'm satisfied with the portal effect, I'm going to be going into 3ds Max and modeling this storefront right here. I thought about making this, and maybe I'll look at this again before I do the other one. But I like this one because that happened. I like this one because it has the lighting on it, while this one doesn't have any lighting. I mean, it has really cool lighting, but it doesn't have colors on it going on. So I'll be going for this. So the first things first, let's set up this reflective thing. To do that, I'm going to have to convert some of these storefront ones into skyboxes. So instead of a clothing store here, yeah, here's one of those things that is based on that shape I drew. Let's make another storefront. We're gonna make a storefront for a small grocery market. For a small grocery store, sure. Generate. Okay, while that's thinking here, I'm gonna get my image editing program ready to convert an HDR image into a cube map. Now if I just search, what is this, DuckDuckGo, for HDRI to cube map, this first result usually here is going to take me to this wonderful cube map thing, HDRI to cube map thing. So now all I need is to drop, so the difference is an HDRI, or in this case, it's actually just a 360 image, but HDRI is like a 360 image. Technically an HDR image is an HDRI image is a 360 image at multiple exposures. But you don't really need to know that, because the images that you get from Blockade Labs, they're actually just 360 images. You drop your 360 image into the this thing here, and that turns it into a cube map. And cube maps let you do things like the portal here, because you see it's actually a cube. Now, an important thing that I did, and the difference between this cube map and the cube maps that I'm going to be using, is I drew a square on the bottom, because you see that this has to be a square for this to look right. Actually, let's see what happens when we squash it. Oh, that looks weird. That looks weird. Looks too weird. Yeah, so we can squash it so it looks more like a hallway, but that would like greatly impact what our cube map needs to be generated. It would be an abnormal thing then. So let's keep it a square so that we can use our cube maps really easily on it. So let's change that back to 10. Could I make it smaller? I could make it smaller. This is good. Now it's feeling more room sized, like a store is in there. So let's start getting this into the other project. And the first thing I need to do for that is open up this thing that I have in my texture library and the Jedi archives over here. Material library, skyboxes, HDRI template. Okay. Now, over here, am I generating one yet? Here. So I'm generating a small grocery store. This site is swamped right now because they just introduced that draw your own skybox thing with the contour lines. So it takes a really long time right now for them to generate your skybox, unfortunately. But I already have some generated from earlier. It's a good thing I got started on that early. So let's do that. Let's upload this HDRI of this clothing store here. I get to choose where straightforward is, and I think that this should be straightforward here. And then I click cube map. And what it's going to do right now is convert the 360 image into a cube map. That is what a cube map looks like. Okay, let's rock and roll with that. I could rotate it. I don't want to right now though because I'm happy with where it is, but I could change where forward looks. And it's really weird looking when I change the rotation here. But anyways, let's click save. I already know that what I want. Now here's the thing. Now I have to start deciding if I'm targeting mobile devices or if I'm targeting desktop computers. Spoiler alert, I think I'm going to target mid-range computers with this one. Sometimes I target mobile stuff with my builds. Sometimes I target high-end stuff. Let's go mid-range here. Actually, this is going to be more like high-ish to mid-range, and here's what I'm talking about. I'm going to be making 1024 by 1024 skyboxes or cube maps, at least on the bottom row, because I want them to, the user to be able to get really, really close to them and still look pretty good. 1024, that seems like, hey, that's not very big, but it actually is really big because this cube map is 1, 2, 3, 4 sections wide, so that's 4K. That's 1024, 1024, 1024. That's the 4K resolution for width. And then the height is like 3, so this is actually pretty good resolution. The resolution in games like Half-Life and Counter-Strike, like Half-Life 2 and Counter-Strike Source, they're actually really, really small, like 512. So by doing 1080p, or not 1080p, 1024 for each segment, this cube map is going to be mid-range. Now, by itself, it's mid-range, kind of lowish mid-range, but the thing is, I'm going to have multiple cube maps at this resolution. At least 2, maybe 3 1024 cube maps, because I'm going to have the environment map that's going to be a 1024 cube map, and then the 2 storefronts. Then I have these windows up higher that you don't get as close to. Those I'll probably set up to be 512 cube maps. But still, if I have 3 different high resolution cube maps and then an additional low resolution cube map, lowish resolution cube map, I'm going to be using a lot of VRAM. So we'll see how the VRAM looks at the end, but right now I'm targeting kind of mid-range computers. Because of the VRAM mostly. That's video memory. How much textures and stuff can be loaded into the GPU at a time. Okay, I downloaded this. Now I must process it. By processing it, extract here, I mean doing this. I gotta copy this. I don't want it in one strip like that, so I set up this thing in this app that I use that's going to cut it up and save it for me if I just go like this. Cool. Now I have some notes somewhere. Put them in RuneScape. For some reason, I think I have my Skybox notes in my RuneScape HackMD. Yeah. And here I have stuff that's not very useful to me. So this is what I'm going to have to do. Let's upload these images and start building this material out finally. So I'll make a new folder. So now I'm over in the Play Canvas editor again. At last. And then I'm going to make a new folder in my asset panel there called Skybox. Skyboxes. And then inside of Skyboxes, since I already know I'm going to have multiple Skyboxes, I'm going to organize it further and call this one a new folder called Clothing Store Front Clothes. Okay. And in Storefront Clothes is where I'm going to upload these images here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. However, see how it's rotated wrong? Okay, I could just, whoa, I'm spinning out here. I could just fix that. All right, save. I'm just fixing the rotations because when my script or whatever, down is good, converted it, it didn't do the rotations correctly. This one's like this. That one I believe is like this. Okay, so let's upload these 6 by dragging and dropping our images into the asset panel there. Every once in a while, I'll jump around and catch up on chats. Block Muse, welcome to the stream. What is the best way to make my build from the site builder export? Well, baking is a very complex thing. There's multiple ways that you can bake stuff. I'm going to be baking things in 3ds Max when I get to my 3D modeling segment, which is coming up. Hopefully I get to it during this stream. So I'm going to be modeling this out in 3ds Max, and I'm going to be baking the lighting in 3ds Max, which means I'm going to set up the lighting in 3ds Max and then render it to the, I'm going to UV unwrap it, and then I'm going to render it to texture. It's actually not going to take that long, but it is a multi-step process, and it's different depending on if you use Blender or 3ds Max or Maya or Cinema 4D or whatever. So I can show how it's done in 3ds Max, that part of the baking, but your mileage will vary in other apps, and you'll probably end up having to look up tutorials. Now, the site builder export, you don't have to bake anything. The baking usually happens before you get into the site builder. However, there are exceptions, and it just so happens, going back to this world that I built last time, this is one of the exceptions, I believe. I think, let me check here. Did I bake this lighting? Static, and then this is... Okay, so on this one I have static lighting. This one I have the bake set up. That was one of the reasons what I did this demo for, I remember. This was to demonstrate the site builder, the world builder, the Play Canvas editor here, its baking abilities. So if I go over here and I click this button, you see that it casts good shadows, and it's casting multiple shadows. You see how up here I have like multiple shadows from multiple light sources crossing over each other. It's really process intensive, like expensive on the hardware. It taxes the hardware to do that in real time. But because I'm baking the lighting and I have the surfaces of the room set to receive light map shadows, and I set its light map resolution, and you actually have to set up the UV maps a certain way to do this kind of baking on static geometry. But and you could adjust the light map scale and all that kind of good stuff. But because I set all that up, I'm able to click that little bake button and do my baking inside of the editor. But there's a little setup to do still. So no matter where you bake, whether it's Blender 3ds Max or you bake from the editor here, there's pros and cons of each approach. For example, the lighting that it calculates when I click the light map button over there, the lighting that the editor generates is pretty good. However, it's not as good as you would get from 3ds Max or Blender or Cinema 4D that have these long render cycles, because this is almost instantaneous when I click that. So you just got to weigh your options, and you got to kind of know which kind of optimization baking method you're building towards in the beginning. It helps because like I had to set up the UVs a certain way in this room in order to catch the light bake and be able to do this static kind of lighting. If I knew that I was going to be targeting dynamic light on high-end computers or something, so I didn't need to worry about baking stuff, because you don't need to worry about baking stuff if you're targeting like gaming computers, then I wouldn't have even bothered with the UVs on the lighting channel. I would have just made the model and threw some lights in there in the editor, did real-time lighting with shadows and everything. Bam, would have been done. So you got to approach each situation differently. There's an example of doing the baking, or this one from a week or two ago was an example of doing the baking inside the editor. But today, this might be a multi-session thing if I don't get it all the way where I need it to be in the next hour and a half. I'm going to be doing the baking in 3ds Max and showing that workflow. Okay, where was I? I was building. Thank you for the question, by the way, and I will be continuing to keep up with the chat more often than usual during this session. I am creating a skybox. I uploaded my textures. Now I'm going to right-click in the asset panel here and create a new cube map. Cube map, skybox, same thing. And I'm going to call this one storefront close, the same that I called the folder actually. Then I'm going to drag and drop my up image in and my down image. Now, I'm not exactly sure which one's front and what. I know that front isn't front, so let me try putting left into front. There it is. Okay, because the naming, it named him wrong when I ran that script on these things that converted him. Okay, that's not right. That's not right either. That must be over there. Okay, front. No, front must be over there, which means back must be right there. There we go. Now we're correct. Now that I have a cube map here, I'm going to just copy over this material, perhaps, that I have set over here. What properties do I have set on this material? I have an environment map set on it that has the different projection. Maybe that's all that I need. So let's try that on a fresh material over here. So in the skyboxes folder, I'll make glass storefront close. And here on the environment for it, I will assign my thing there. I'll tell it that I want box projection. I'll do something like that. Now I need to make a model for the window. I'm actually not going to make the models for the windows in 3ds Max. I'm going to be making them right here. So I'm going to click New Entity, 3D, Render, and the render I want on it is a plane. Now it wants to know what material. I'm going to give it glass storefront, which for some reason is not looking the way that I wanted it to look. What settings did I use on this over here? Well, for diffuse we were black, for specular we were white, and we were pretty glossy. Well, it looks like it's working in the game. Oh, it probably is working. This is just the angle that I'm looking at it at. Okay, that explains it. All right, now let's rotate this thing like so and start scaling it to be like the window over here. Okay, let's see how good the rectangle works on it. Okay, so you see, this is why drawing the special cube map was important. I need to align where the projection happens with the room itself. So this is too high. Something's wrong with my cube map here, I think. It's like it's showing the floor for my roof? Or no, my floor needs to be rotated. That's probably what needs to happen. Yeah. Does that mean my roof needs to be unrotated? Probably. Okay, let's see if re-uploading these rotated helps me out with my weirdness that I'm seeing. I don't think it updated in the 3D view, so I'm going to refresh here. There we go. There we go. That looks much more correct. But the projection, where the projection is happening, still looks wrong. So let's tinker with that a little bit more. That looks good for the floor. See, I'm trying to line up the floor with where the floor is on the tiles, okay? Then for the width, this actually needs to be much wider, like that. You see how it's starting to look like a building now? Not quite. Yeah, that stuff over there is no good. That's good. Okay, now let's get this thing closer. And not as tall. Or just lower it down some. Okay, let's push it away. It's not going to be the same kind of storefront that I had originally planned. It'll be a little bit different. So I think I could get a more dramatic effect if it was more like this. Okay, let's try another one. Do we have another one ready to go? One more. These storefronts look good. But they're like the outside of the storefront when I want the inside. Let's download that one more time. See what we get. And I have a couple more, or I'll do one more storefront and then that apartment, and then we'll just roll with that plan that I had laid out originally. So let's go back to that website that's converting the HDRI to CubeMap. The one that I'm using is for this next store. I have a clothing store. There's another clothing store. This is the clothing store I used. Let me rotate this. I'm noticing that the other side of this cube map might be far more interesting. So I'm physically going to rotate this thing. So, to see the other side. Now that is nice. I'm going to adjust it some, I think, here. Yeah, because I'll put it right over here. That's actually far too big. Let me get it the right size. That still might be pretty big. Lower it down a little bit. Maybe it's not big enough now. Okay, now let's realign this. I like this view better than the other view that I had set up. I'm not happy with that shelf over there, man. I'm not happy with that shelf over there. Okay, but let's roll with that because we want to get finished with this thing. We're gonna make some progress here. So, I did have another image that I was trying to convert. For the storefront. This one, yeah. What is forward? I think this is forward. How is the projection going to happen? See, this room it doesn't have really square edges. It's not the best. Let's skip right up onto one that's perhaps better suited. One that I prepared earlier, like one of these. It's best to use ones that don't have windows themselves. That one looks boring. Or they only have windows on one side of the room where you're not going to show. That's good too. That one's all windows. These are pretty good though because they're flat. I mean, they're square. They're square. What would be the perfect angle on this one? I don't see it. This one would be good if it weren't for that window right there. Let's try one more. Yeah. Okay, I think we're going to go for this simple one here. Let's see how this one goes. This is the view that we'll take. Remember I was saying it looks really weird when I rotate it in this view? Look at that. That is mind-blowing. Okay, save. This one, I'm just going to go ahead and do this one 1024 also, and for the sake of time, I'm going to do one storefront image instead of two storefront images. So I can skip to the 3D modeling and structuring this thing out sooner, because it doesn't look like much right now. When this is in a building behind curtains, then it'll look like something. But right now, it just looks weird. Because imagine like a sidewalk in front of it. I'm not going to get too close to it. So like this is how close I'm going to get to it as I walk by it. And when you walk by it, it's just so much better than using a flat image there. Okay. Open HDRI template. Okay, let's make a new folder in the Skyboxes folder, and we'll call this folder house. House. We'll just call it house. Inside house, we're going to upload some of these images after I process them. Down, I think needed to be rotated. It was up that didn't need to be rotated. Then I'm making a new cube map in here called house. I got up, I got down. I got left as front. Okay, I think that's correct. So let's make another window. Go ahead and hide this thing, it keeps getting in my way. Another window up higher. Like this. And this one we will say let's call it window. And for the material, I have to make a new material. Call it house window. Yeah. Yeah, that's more like it. That one looks nice up there, man. Okay. Make it a little bit deeper. So it has a little window seal there. Okay, that one looks good. I feel like I could get this one looking better. You know, the higher this thing is above me, the better it'll look. Slow this down some. And I'll have steps leading up to it. Like that. Okay, this looks good. And I think I might do one more apartment. Not a different texture, but one more level up. Which unfortunately, I think I'm gonna have to make another material for to change how the reprojection is. Yeah, but as long as it's straight up, it'll be easy for me to do. I'll just duplicate this, sign that. It'll be an additional render call because I duplicated it. Oops. There we are. Now, here is a trick. I don't want this to look the same as the other one, so I could do this. Not that. And this. Not that. Or maybe that. And this. Yeah, so it's the same cube map, but I can make it look a little bit different. Now, actually, that's not good, because if this is an apartment building, having each of the floors look almost identical is pretty good. I kind of wish it was mirrored so that the window would be on the right-hand side, though. Because if the corner of the building is over here on the right-hand side, the light coming in through that window should be over there, too. Maybe I should mirror it in my head. Just mirror this and do the same thing on the other side. Okay, so here we got some pretty cool stuff going on. We got, we have the storefront using the cool cube map projection there. We got two windows using the projection there, but it still looks like madness. I need to build a street, a sidewalk, a building facade, and make it look more like this before it stops looking like madness. Now, I'm going to concede that I'm not going to do all of that in the 1 hour remaining in the stream today. So what I am going to focus my efforts on instead will be the putting the blinds in front. So I'm going to build geometry around the thing. And I'm going to block it out here real quick to show you, to show everybody, myself included, what it's going to be looking like. I'm going to start up here. So this is going to have some type of building thing in front of it. Oop. Oop. Like that. So that'll be covering up something. And then, of course, there's these sections too. Okay, so, and you can imagine the building going all the way up. So that's going to be the first part of it. You can see it already looks really convincing without even putting anything in front of it. That kind of works. I mean, you still want to put glass or something in front of it because it looks weird just being exposed. That works for the windows that are far away, but if the windows you're getting close to them, that's definitely not going to work. You're going to need something that blocks the visibility. There's a little bit of a problem with my perspective here on my cube map that I set up earlier because the ceiling is too high. What if I just took this whole thing and brought it down some? Does that change it at all? Does that make it any better? Not really. I feel like I could still mess around with these knobs down here some. Make this feel more real. Hey, maybe that did it. Yeah, but it should be more pushed back, it seems, but not really because of the way the projection happens. It's too far back. It can't go that far back. It can't handle it. It could go back a little bit, but it can't go back that far. Okay, it's a lot to do with the cube map down there. It's just not very good. What if it was rotated 90 degrees? I should focus on where the good cube map is. Yeah. Okay, so let's put some blinds in front of this cube map. Where am I going to get blinds from? I have no idea. Let's check out GameTextures.com. I don't have blind textures laying around. Come on, what do I look like? Some kind of Disney character? Let's look for blinds. Oh, wow, that was not the kind of blinds I was looking for. But maybe they'll do. I mean, these blinds came with windows, and that might be really cool. But you can't see through them, and that's what I mean, where they're not the kind of blinds that I was hoping for. How could I modify these blinds? I couldn't. What if I search for drapes? Curtain. Okay, while I'm working on other stuff, I'm going to try to create this clothing store again. This is going to be the... So I got to do the sketch again. Let me refresh this. These skyboxes that I'm generating, I want them to be square. Let's stick with square. So using this brand new feature here on this skybox AI skybox generator thing, I'm going to do this. And all that I'm doing, this is kind of ridiculous what I'm doing, but I couldn't have done it a few days ago. I'm just telling it that I want there to be a perfect cube because of the way that I'm setting up the offsets, as you guys just saw. I can't have a lot of like curved walls and stuff on the edges. It's got to be mostly a cube. It's okay if there's some non-cube stuff on it. It's okay if it's a rectangle instead of a cube, but it can't have a bunch of walls that go in and out. So by drawing these contour lines, the skybox that it generates is going to put me in a square room. Kind of wish this was just like a preset that I could do. You could do a lot more with this tool than I'm doing here. It's actually not even intended for just drawing a box on like I am, but this is exactly what I need it to do for me right now. I saw that they added this feature and I was like, oh man, now's the time to do that stream about doing those windows now that I can actually generate good skyboxes. Okay. Let's make that straighter. Now that I have my contour lines drawn out here, I can tell it what I want, and I'll say so over here I'm going to choose interior. Maybe I'll try it without saying interior first. I'll say the interior of a what kind of store is this one? Oh yeah, a clothing store in a mall. Realistic. Generate. Now, it's going to take a while because they're overloaded right now. So back to what I was doing. I was looking for curtains. I don't see any curtains here that I can use. That's disappointing. So I don't want to burn time looking for a perfect texture. I can prepare a texture before I start the stream. Like I did with the cube maps and all, generating all those. So let's block out the scene a little bit more here. I'm going to do this 3D modeling in 3ds Max, but I'm going to block out the scene some here, take a screenshot of it, and just kind of use it as a rough estimation of what I'll be doing in 3ds Max. Nowhere near big enough. So if that's going to be the side with the street, okay. This should be skinnier because I can see the window from this angle. Not quite that skinny. add a light in here that's a directional light. Let's make it not so bright. Make it kind of a bluish nighttime tint, right? Yeah, definitely. Kind of rotate it around like this. It's better to have multiple lights, because if you have one light, you get these a really dark side on the back of your building. It's kind of a trade-off between multiple lights and performance. I'm just going to do multiple lights right now because I am going to bake this in the end. I'm just kind of pre-visualizing it here. So I'll duplicate that, move it over here, spin it around. Give it a different color. A gray or a purple or an orange. I think I'm going to go with like an orangish. Or a purple. Yeah, we'll go with purple. And this is for like the ambient color. Okay. That's going to look good. This isn't tall enough. Now remember, those are just flat surfaces. This is why this is such a useful technique when making gigantic cities. You don't want to have to model the 3D inside. You just want to be able to slap a texture on there. Now, I don't have it as easy as just slapping a texture on there. I actually have to go and tweak some of the settings over here. I'm sure that there's a way to get around that, but I'm not going to figure it out live on the stream right now. So even manually setting them, this is just a really nice effect. And it's much cheaper to render than having all the 3D rooms in there. And then after this point, they're just going to turn into not even 3D. Depending on what your performance budget is, maybe you can keep them being 3D even higher up. But I am going to be making them turn into just white windows here. Something, stuff very similar to this kind of stuff. See how that, it's not opaque, it's not translucent at all. It's just going to be a flat surface, no special shader on it. Because those will be the further away windows. Although if your performance budget, if it's within your performance budget, it's awesome to have the things just go way up there. Look, the glass is kind of built in. Let's tweak that a little bit to make that better. Okay, so let's generate another skybox, and this will be the skybox that's on the outside wrapped around the city. So we'll take a look at how the generation went here. This isn't good. I'm going to download this because it's awesome, but this isn't what I needed. I needed it to respect my contour lines. Let's let it give it another shot. But over here, I need to generate a different thing. Let's start fresh over here. I want to create new, and I just want to type in here. We want this futuristic, what are the words here? Futuristic utopian city street at sunset, I'll say. Is this sunset? At night. Okay. Futuristic utopian city street at night. Realistic. Generate. Now, this cube map is what's going to be around everything else. And I'm hoping I could make it reflect off of that too, although I'm having my doubts now because that is a cube map that we're looking at. So I might need to turn off the glare there and layer glass in front to get the effect I'm going for. I can do that. I'm just going to go specular to that. Bam. Now we don't have any more of those highlights happening on there. Got to do the same thing for this one. Specular off. And then I can layer the glass in front. Let me turn the specular off down here too. off. Ooh, but that discolors them some. I gotta fix the discoloring now. Now I gotta fix the discoloring. So this goes into the color modulation. I'm not modulating the color here. I'm just wrecking my saturation somehow. But you see how those two windows up there, they're exactly the same. Now I've seen this effect in High on Life and it blew my mind, right? So you have this one cube map loaded and you're using it in, I'm using it in 2 windows, but you can use it in 100 windows. But you don't want them to all look the same. So how do you make them look different? And the answer is you color modulate, because then you don't need to have different images, just render them differently. Now what I'm doing, it's not going to tint it correctly. It's going to look weird, but you can give it, it kind of looks correct, right? So you would have one window that looks like that, and the other window down there looks like that. So just with that, it looks a little bit different. In the futuristic setting, it's easier to pull something off like that because they have the weird color lighting. Not so easy to pull off in a realistic setting because there's not a lot of red lights in a certain story of an apartment building or something, right? The other thing that you can do, which I saw them doing High on Life, which was amazing, is this. This floor has a broken light bulb in it, so it flickers on and off like this. And they animated this. It was doing this real time. You'd have to write like an animation shader or something for this. But doing that is awesome because then, okay, that floor of the apartment building, it has a broken light bulb, and you throw some of these in, you mix them in with the rest of your windows that you have going on, and you have, it's like you're telling a story with your windows. People are looking at the windows, they're picking up the clues, and they come to the conclusion that that floor has a broken light bulb in it. And this is just the texturing that's happening up there in the city that you usually are just running right past. So stuff like that is wonderful. It's like depth in the environment where when you look around hard enough, you see things that make sense and you can make implications from them. Like there's a light bulb that's broken and stuff like that. And I am going to do that a little bit here. Am I going to turn the light off? I might. I don't know how weird that would look. It doesn't look that bad. And maybe I'll do 3 of these. Direction am I supposed to be going here? Here we go. There we go. Let's bring this thing up on our elevator here. All right. And then bring it down a little bit. And then maybe after that, I'll start going to just the solid white ones. Flat window. Okay, the saturation problem. The saturation problem. Solved. Okay, we're looking pretty good. Let's see how the skybox is coming. Hey, this is good. It's going to be a little weird to see this in the storefront, but this is good. Down low. Maybe it won't be too weird. It might be cool if it was longer. But I'm gonna draw another guide if I want to make it longer. How's our utopian city street going? Pretty good. I didn't want so many lights. They added a lot of lights in there. But hey, this is just a previs thing, so let's download and make this happen. I'm gonna go quick this time. Let's see how quick we could do it. I'm gonna search, or I'm gonna go to this. I'll start from the beginning. Let's search HDRI to cube map. Then it'll be near the top. That gets me here. Okay. I have an image that I downloaded, an HDRI that I downloaded. Where is it? I didn't download it. Download. Okay. Now I have an HDRI that I downloaded. So over here I click upload from my downloads. I did download it. There it is. There. Okay, what's forward? What is forward? That is nice. We'll do this. This is forward because I'm going to put my building right there in the corner, I hope. I hope. Cube map. Yeah. Save. That good resolution. Process and download. You see where it says exposure equals 4.0 down there? That's because what I mentioned earlier, HDRI images are actually supposed to contain a lot of lighting information. I want to say at least 7, but I'm not sure if that's even close to accurate. But it contains the same image in different exposure levels. So when you use them in dynamic environments, you can do some really cool effects if you have all that lighting information, like when you're going from a dark area into a bright area, how your pupils have to adjust, or when you're not transitioning, but you're just standing in a dark area, looking out a window, your pupils are real big, just like that. That's an illustration for pupils. And because of that, you can see the stuff that's in the room, but when you try to look out the window, it just looks like a white wall because it's just super bright out there. Those kind of effects you can do really well with HDR, with true HDRI images. Again, we're not working with true HDR images, we're doing skybox stuff. 360 images. So I turned that 360 image into this, and now I need to change this into this. And now that I changed that into that, I need to open them up and change them into these. Okay, so up is fine. Back is not fine. Now it is. That's the wrong up. Down need to be rotated. Left. Oh, that was front. Left is good. Right needs to be rotated. And up is good. All right. So we're ready to upload this additional. I'm not even going to get 3ds Max, I bet. I'm just going to do all the blocking out. That's okay. It's good to know what you're making before you open up the modeling tools. Skyboxes, new folder. And this folder is called Sky. I'm not going to call it Sky because this is the actual sky. And we'll upload that and we'll do a new cube map. And this cube map is called Sky. I have to wait for my images to upload though. Okay, we got up, we got down, and then we got to figure out what goes in front. Okay, we got to figure out what goes on the sides. Perfect. Now, I'm going to pre-filter this cube map because this is the actual cube map. That's going to be the sky. And then I'm going to go over here to the rendering, and I'm going to drag and drop the sky into my sky here, and there we are. It looks way too huge and it makes our building look tiny. Let's see. Can I rotate this thing? try to fix some of those issues. I think this was the corner I wanted it on. Okay, we'll put it right here for our illustration purposes. What do I have there? A shader. What shader is that? Never seen that before. And that's because of the cube map that I just added? Interesting. What if I didn't rotate it? Would that not be a warning? Okay, I don't know what that warning is. I'll have to look into that warning. So I'll ignore that warning for now. And maybe that warning won't even be there when I actually do all the processing to get the final versions. Okay, so this is looking good. What else am I going to do in 3ds Max? A little bit more of the building, and then I'm going to make a courtyard and some cool stuff like that. But let's finish mapping out this building. It is based on this thing here. I did want other little window rooms, so I think that will be a big part of it right over here. We want this coming out at an angle. No, not at an angle, not if I'm mapping it like that. It's just coming straight out like this. Okay, now I do want curtains in front of those things, though. I will want windows over here eventually. What would curtains look like? Well, they would look like this. Only a maniac would make their curtains as 3D objects. Or their blinds, whatever. Cool. Okay. I'm gonna put those windows on the left. I don't think so. I'll probably put them over here though. And different windows in there. They'll probably end up being the same windows though. So let's copy some of these things over to this other building and see how that can go. Whoops. looking good on the stream. It hasn't died for me once today. My capture card is finally pulling its weight. Specular bright. I'm going to make the bottom window here look like its light is off by doing that specular thing there. The windows, this is why I was trying to generate skyboxes that didn't have windows, because of this. If you only have pure interiors that don't have any windows, it doesn't look too crazy to have when you look through the window and like you're at the edge of a building and you see a wall, you're like, well, there must be a hallway on the other side, that is where the window on the other side of the building leads to. But when you see a window that leads into the side of the adjacent building, there's no explaining that away. That's not very good. So I could generate a more fitting cube map for the apartments, but it took a lot of generations to get this one. So let's just keep rolling with it. And since this is an illustration thing, I kind of want to knock these windows down and show them too. Yeah. So let's make this thing more like this. You know, depending on the project, just boxing stuff out like this could be acceptable. Especially if you don't need to be worrying about optimizing too much, and you can use the real-time lighting, you can go get far doing this kind of stuff here. I'm just thinking, am I going to be showing this at all from the other side? Should these windows be those shaders too? Probably. Let's see how that would look. Now, in most games, I see it like we see it here, where they don't even care about lining up, hey, that door is not the same as that door. However, I might have control of it. I would have to rotate stuff, wouldn't I? That's not going to cut it, is it? No, it will not. So I'm not going to worry about that either. I'll be like most games. But what you would want to do, if possible, is rotate the cube map. Now the thing is, when you make an optimized version of this technique that I'm showing here, your cube map only has 3 sides. It doesn't even have the back side because it never gets rendered. So that's why it's always the same one no matter what perspective. And that's the more optimal way to do it. But if you're working with an entire cube map, you should be able to rotate it and show the consistently, at least from the 90-degree angles, rotate it 90 degrees and show the same door at the same place. But let's not worry about that. Let's worry about adjusting this side of the building to make use of the cube map type windows. Okay, we'll go with that. Now I need to do similar stuff to all the windows on this side, and then I'll be wrapping it up, and I can do that in the next 20 minutes here. And this one will be the same blue color because it's supposed to be the same room. Okay, well, I'm already done there. I do want to get the blinds over. I don't think that I'm going to worry about the blinds yet, because I'm going to be most likely, in all likelihood, if I carry this thing through to completion after making this demo, I'm going to 3D model that thing in 3ds Max. So the blinds will be made then, and probably just as a texture, maybe as 3D. I want to get glass onto these windows more than I want to turn these ones into those special windows, I think. Although it might be interesting to see them on the thin windows there. Mm-hmm. Let's do the glass first, and then I'll worry about the thin windows and decide if I'm going to do those. So I'm going to make a big 3D render that's going to be a plane. Yeah. Let me try to recenter myself and get back in camera. I'm drifting off there. How's that? Moving up, rotate it. Will be glass. How clear is this thing's reflections, I wonder? Ooh, they could be real clear. That's too clear. Maybe it's not too clear. That looks pretty nice. Okay, let's put that same glass over the top window too. That really helps add to the effect too. Okay, let's copy that glass over here. Okay, also I want like a glass door down at the bottom. Could it be the same glass? It can. All right. So I'm gonna make this even bigger. And I imagine there being like a glass door that looks like that's how you enter into this building here. Hey. The blinds look really, really good all of a sudden when they're behind that glass. So I feel like I want to copy the blinds to the other windows. That'll do. And that'll do. Got it. Also wanted to copy the blinds over to the other windows. Degrees. Awesome. I have about 8 minutes here. I want to get this onto a parcel so I can actually visit it in Somnium Space and take some screenshots, but I don't think I'm going to get all the way there today. So I might have to take my screenshots inside of test mode here, which isn't so bad. I can just hide my little dude, and then it looks a lot like I got it all the way in for the screenshots. But around this thing, I need some framing. That's why this looks so bad. It's because I didn't have a framing. A real storefront would have all kinds of framing. Yeah, we need more stuff like that. Okay. It's a Unix system, I know this. All right, now let's drop a couple more lights in here for effect. Okay, and I believe with that, that is, it's going to be the conclusion for today on this. Now, this isn't a bad place to be. The idea I've been playing around with for a few days is to make a kind of like a city square where there's a fountain in the middle or something, and the place that you actually hang out at is not inside of the buildings, but in between the buildings, like the concerts that happen in LA and at like City Hall and stuff like that. So, Times Square, how about that, right? Not Times Square, the one that has all the news places and they do the ice skating in New York with the Christmas tree, that square, something like that. So, if we were surrounded by buildings that looked like that, where we were hanging out outside of the buildings, not inside of the buildings, then it'd be okay that the buildings are facades. And this will look awesome. Now, after I get better at doing this kind of shader, because I was doing it manually, setting up, having to adjust the sliders for each position of window, if I could lock those sliders to the position of window, so when the window moves around, the sliders automatically change with it, so to speak, then I could easily throw it on all of these windows, and that's when the optimization is really going to kick in, because then it's no longer a different material, a different skybox for each window. It's actually just the shader that's rendering the exact same perspective from the skybox in every window. That's when the real performance kicks in. However, as far as targeting mid-range computers, this is good. I do have multiple materials, so it increases the draw calls. However, the materials, the skyboxes, they are all of the same textures, so it's not going to eat up VRAM, and it's not going to eat up transfer size and stuff like that. So there you have it. I think that I'm happy with how this is looking so far. If I went in and I add the detailing in on this little building here in 3ds Max, I got a solid building right here, and then I do 6 more of them or something crazy like that, and I have a whole level where we can hang out, have a concert, an outdoor concert in the middle of the courtyard, and be amazed by how 3D each of these rooms look. Also, with this effect, you can still do forced perspective, so you could make the windows, I made all the windows the same sizes, but if you wanted to make it look like the building was really, really tall without having to make a really, really tall building, and it's more optimized not to make a really, really tall building because the texture space and rendering really long, stretched out polygons and stuff like that. You can make the windows smaller and smaller as they get higher and higher. And because of the humans' tendencies to recognize parallel lines, converging parallel lines as meaning something is going off into the distance, that's an established optical illusion to us people that grew up where there's like buildings, or roads where you have a lot of parallel lines converging. That makes it look like it's a really, really tall building when it doesn't have to be a super tall building in actuality. 4-Way Studios, what's up? Welcome to the show. You're showing up right here at the tail end. I'm kind of wrapping up, but right here, this building that I'm ending up with right here is what's going to be the next stream, which is going to be taking place next Friday, same time, same channel right here. This window effect, these are fake windows, right? They're just a skybox shader. There's actually nothing in there, but when you look at it from here, it looks like there is. All these windows are like that. They're just flat surfaces along the building side. I'm going to be coming back. I'm going to be 3D modeling the actual apartment building and the blinds and everything that are housing these cube map reflections. I'll be doing that in 3ds Max here, which I did nothing in today. And after that, it's just about composing things together. For that stream, the next stream, when I'm doing 3ds Max stuff, that's when I'm going to be getting into the baking. I was mentioning how I was going to do the light baking in 3ds Max. I'm pretty sure that's the direction I'm going to go with this, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to take this all the way and do the whole little area here that we could have events in the middle of. But that will show light baking, UV unwrapping, Arranging the UV maps in a good way to get some good resolution on them, multi-resolution light mapping or baking, where like the stuff that isn't important isn't going to get as much texture space as the stuff that is, and all that good stuff. So, thanks everybody for tuning in. Once again, I'm SM SithLord. This is the weekly Somnium stream happening right here. We were making a Somnium Space web world. We didn't get it over the finish line, but next time we'll get it closer to the finish line. I don't know if we'll get it all the way over because that 3D modeling and baking the lighting, that might take the whole 2-hour period. And then it's dropping it into the editor, getting the lighting just the way that I want it, putting the spawn points in there, animated GIFs, animated video atlases, and all that kind of stuff. Oh, like billboards. Wow. If I'm making, look, there's billboards in the skybox here. When I make the buildings 3D, a few more 3D buildings, I could put giant screens on them like all these buildings and then have a video atlas running on them, which would be great. Okay, so I'll see y'all then. If you're interested in Somnium Space and you want to see the other stuff that goes down on here, I was targeting web worlds with my build. There's I believe the disco, like the actual event where users go and have fun. I believe that's tonight. Tomorrow on this Twitch channel. And then after that, on Sunday perhaps, is Denevero with the Unity stream. So I was using Play Canvas for web worlds. Denevero is going to be using Unity SDK for the VR worlds. And that about covers it. Other than there's also, if you're not a 3D artist, and you want to build something in Somnium, there is like the easy mode, PC builder it's called. It's bundled in with the PC client. And with that one, it's kind of like how I built these structures here, how I was just dropping the cubes in and squashing them and stretching them, except for that's the end result. And it does real-time lighting and everything. The builds usually end up looking kind of like this, but better because you can use textures and all that kind of stuff. But kind of blocky is the point that I'm trying to get across. Kind of blocky because you're building things with blocks. You can use cylinders and spheres and do cool things in the PC builder. But that's really, really good if you're not a 3D artist and you don't want to spend hours and hours making a 3D model. But if you are a 3D artist or you wish you were a 3D artist like myself and you want to spend hours and hours using stuff like Blender, 3ds Max, Maya, Cinema 4D, web worlds are the way to go, or VR worlds in Unity SDK. Those are the hard mode things. So those are the things you want to check out too to get into that side of the building. Easy mode, PC builder if you want to get into that side, and if you want to get into using, tomorrow the disco stream will be showing. And with these social apps, Somnium Space is most definitely a social app. You don't want to go in there by yourself randomly and just explore somewhere where there's nobody at. Because this is a social app. You want to show up for an event. So if you get into the Discord, the Somnium Space Discord, you won't miss an event. There's an events channel. The events are announced there. There's daily meetups. There's these weekly events that I just mentioned. You go to one of those events, and then you get to meet people. You get to talk to people. And I'm telling you, I could spend a month modeling a super high resolution, awesome garage. But it's still just a lifeless, soulless garage until you're standing in it with your friends. It's the people that bring these environments to life and actually make them memorable. You're not going to remember just a nice-looking garage. There's all kinds of video games that have those. But when you spend an hour or two in an event talking to people inside of this area, inside of a space like a garage that's highly detailed or this thing that I'm building here, the environments are very memorable, not because they're so good or amazing, but because of the experience you had within them. So be sure to go to an actual event, not just drop in by yourself. All right, with that, later on, everybody, and I'll see you next week. Peace.